Hello, all the sweet little children out there. I know how much you children love dolphins and sharks and things like that. So I decided to do a story about dolphins and sharks, and it's called Bubbles and Sparkles. And here is the story, sweet children. It was bright and cheerful. It was a bright and cheerful sunny day along the coast of Key West, Florida. Many people came to swim with the dolphins, and a little boy named Leon enjoyed swimming beside Bubbles, the baby dolphin. They became firm friends, but at the end of the day, Leon had to get out of the water and go with his parents on his journey home. It was from that day that gave Bubbles the desire to swim beyond the safety of the coral reef. Bubbles splashed beside his best friend called Sparkles and asked, "Have you ever wondered what life is like beyond this coral reef?" Sparkle smiled. "Yes, I have, but our mums told us not to wander out to the reefs because there is great danger from sharks and orcas, but especially from humans who may put us in tiny aquariums and use us to entertain those humans. They even leave nets that we can easily get caught in and drowned." Bubbles replied, "Leon is nice. In fact, I have never came across a bad human." Sparkles explained, "That is because he is a little boy, but once they grow up, they are no longer nice." Bubbles replied, "I hardly think that is true." Sparkles explained, "You just cannot trust them." Then they saw a big ship sail by and a huge whale. Bubbles groaned, "Everyone and everything is allowed out in that big beyond, but we have to stay here. It is not fair." Sparkles replied, "Parents warn us not to do these things because they have our best interest at heart and know what's best." Bubbles complained, "Parents just want to spoil our fun. They think we are not capable of taking care of ourselves." "Well, I'm going to prove them wrong. At the midnight hour, when the sun has set and the stars shine brightly in the starlight sky, I will jump over that coral reef and venture out." Sparkles pleaded, "Just be careful. You are my best friend, and I would hate it if anything had happened to you, because you are the brother of my heart." Bubbles reassured, "It is fine, my best friend and sister of my heart. I am a big dolphin, and I will be fine." Sparkles replied, "I hope so, Bubbles." Bubbles reassured, "Of course I will be. Now, don't worry, but we will need a plan." That night Bubbles made a plan in his mind to sneak out and to be very quiet while his parents were still asleep, in deep sleep, and Sparkles could not sleep either. So she kept on watching over to the corals to see if he would swim there. Bubbles' parents were asleep, but his brother Splash was still awake as the sun went down and the stars shone above the heavens like diamonds. Bubbles swam past his parents, and Splash tried to persuade him back and pleaded, "Brother, please come back, or you will get lost out there in the open ocean." Bubbles pleaded back, "Please don't tell Mum and Dad." Splash replied, "Okay, brother, but be back within the next hour." Bubbles replied, "I will, I promise." Splash asked, "Why are you doing such a thing anyway?" Bubbles replied, "To make the sea creatures think I am so cool if I am a young dolphin, but can still venture into the deep." Splash reassured, "You don't need to prove a thing to me, because you are my brother." But Bubbles was taking no notice and swam to the coral reef to jump over it. In the meantime, Sparkles was watching and saw him swim towards the coral reef, and she swam past her parents to join him. Sparkle's sister followed after her, pleading, "Please don't join, Bubbles, or you could put yourself in danger." But Sparkles reassured, "Everything will be good, Pebbles. I promise we will not be here long." Besides, we are both strong swimmers, and if a shark or orca comes our way, we will soon swim back fast. And we do swim fast. Pebbles, her sister Pebbles replied. That is true, you both are very fast swimmers. Okay then, I trust you both. Sparkles smiled. Swimmers smiled, that's my girl, we won't be long. Just keep this a secret. Pebbles replied, Okay, I will not tell Mum or Dad or our big brother. Sparkles replied, Thanks, bye. And then she swam off to join Bubbles. Together they jumped over the safety of the coral reef, when suddenly a very powerful hurricane wind, took them off guard into a very strong sea current and carried them away for miles. They watched as the sea creatures passed before their very eyes. Cod, fish, octopus, squid, sea turtles, seahorses, sea manatees, stingrays, and all kinds of sea creatures got caught up together with Bubbles and Sparkles in the nasty sea storm. They both cried, We did not intend to go so far away from home. How will we ever find our way home? Up on the surface of the water they could see the bottom of a huge boat. All of a sudden a nasty net came down. Hundreds of sea bass and cod got caught up in the cruel net together with a sea turtle. Sparkles cried, Oh, poor turtle, what is your name? She replied, My name is Shell, and I got caught in the current. I just want my mum and dad. Sparkles reassured, My friend, it is okay. We will get you out. I am Sparkles, and here is my best friend Bubbles. We are lost too, but it seems that the storm has passed. Sparkles tried to rip the net with her nose, and she freed Shell, but got caught up in the net herself. Shell's parents had been following from behind, and she got reunited with her parents again. Shell and her parents were going to try and set Sparkle free of the net, but Bubbles pushed the three of them away to keep them safe. Bubbles insisted, Try to free Sparkles, but got caught in the net also. In the distance they saw Shell and her parents swim off happily home together. Sparkles cried, This is no use. I want to go home. I should have never listened to you. Bubbles reassured, Calm down, little sister. I will find a way. For us both, after I, got us both out of here. Sparkles asked, And how do you suppose you would do that? But before she could say another word, a huge shark came swimming towards them, showing his huge, fierce teeth. They both got scared and screamed in unison and wriggled hard to get loose, but they could not. The huge shark showed its huge teeth and swam close to them both. By this time, poor Bubbles and Sparkle were terrified. The huge shark started biting into the net. Sparkle screamed, Do something quickly, Bubbles, before we become a double dolphin sea sandwich for this shark. But Bubbles reassured, Wait, I think he is helping us. Sparkle screamed, Are you crazy? Sharks don't help us, but eat us. Bubbles just smiled at Sparkles as the shark cut through the ropes and set the two young dolphins free. Bubbles smiled, Thank you. The shark replied, What are you two young dolphins doing here? It is dangerous for you here. Sparkles replied, We got caught by a sea current. She then asked, Why did you set us free? What do you want from us? Sharks don't help dolphins, they are our enemies. The shark replied, Not all of our sharks are bad. I saw you both in trouble, so I thought I'd help you out. By the way, my name is Thin, and what is yours? Bubbles replied, I am Bubbles, and here is my best friend Sparkles. We just want to go home. Thin replied, Just stay close to me, and I will help you. Sparkles questioned, How do we know you're not planning to lower us into a deep ditch of the ocean and bite off our heads? Thin replied, Well, it's up to you if you want to trust me or not. But you are both out here in a big wide ocean, not knowing where you're going, so what choice do you have?" Sparkles nodded. "I guess you're right." Bubbles smiled. "It is okay, sister. I think he is a friendly shark and that we can trust him." The three friends swam on, happily giggling together until Sparkles shouted, "We will have so much fun together." Finn noticed Razor and Grace coming towards them, and Finn shouted, "Watch out and follow me." Sparkles and Bubbles then spotted the other two sharks and were terrified, but followed Finn into an abandoned sunken shipwreck where they hid from Razor and Grace. Sparkles asked, "Who are they?" Finn warned, "They are some nasty sharks who don't just include fish in their diet, but also prey on dolphins and even young children. They live near me. I can usually fight one off, but the two of them together is a challenge, and they are always hanging together. They are the bullies of the ocean." Sparkles asked, "Where are we now?" Finn replied, "You are just behind the Cuba Island. I will have to swim around you. I will have to swim you around Cuba to get back to Key West again, because you two were disorientated when I first spotted you both and were swimming towards Jamaica. Just be careful, because if you get caught by humans, they could put you in the Jamaican Cove." Sparkles replied, "That won't be so bad. At least we're out in the natural sea." "But I want to go home. I miss my family." Finn replied, "Exactly my sentiments." All of a sudden they were found by Razor and Grace, and the three friends saw them and swam away as fast as their fins could carry them. They swam to the surface of the ocean, where Leon and his dad were sailing over the ocean on their speedboat. Leon exclaimed, "Look, Dad, there is Bubbles and Sparkles." "But why are they out here in Cuba and not with their parents?" He looked over to spot the two sharks and screamed, "Daddy, they're being chased by sharks. We have got to help them." Razor and Blaze were just about to catch up with Bubbles and Sparkles until they jumped onto Leon's dad's boat, and Leon and his dad helped pull the two dolphins up onto their boat, but poor Finn was still being chased by Razor and Grace until they got distracted by a flock of seagulls that landed on the ocean surface. Finn followed behind the boat with Sparkles and Bubbles on. They headed back to Florida when all of a sudden they got caught by a police of the sea. The police asked, what are you doing with these dolphins?" Leon's dad replied, "Sir, with all due respect, we are taking them back to their home in Florida." But the policeman did not believe Leon's dad and thought that he had stole them out of the ocean for his own profit and purpose. So the policeman replied, "I don't believe you, so you will have to hand them over to me." Leon cried, "Daddy, please don't let that policeman take them, because they will only throw them into the aquarium where they will never see their family again." But his dad replied, "Sorry, son, but I have no choice." Leon cried as he saw the policeman take them away along with Finn, who he had also noticed and put into his boat. The three friends lay there weeping all the way to Jamaica. Once they arrived to Jamaica, they got put into the cove, where they were used for entertainment day after day. Meanwhile, back in Florida, both Bubbles and Sparkles' family grew very worried about them, and had even ventured out in the deep without finding them. Finn's family back around the Cuba Island also worried about him. They made friends with an orca whale called Ollie, who swam past them in the ocean. He wanted to help them escape, but the humans were always keeping an eye out on them. Ollie had been exploring the ocean, and he was planning to get back to Florida. 2 weeks had passed, and the three friends were getting very depressed. Even though they had Ollie to talk to, they longed to be back with their families. Leon and his dad decided to go to Jamaica to try and find Bubbles and Sparkles. One day Leon went to swim with the dolphins at the cove. He had a plan in his mind all along with his dad on how to set them free. As Leon was going to swim with the dolphins, his dad had an accident and fell over, and he screamed, help! And all of a sudden, the dolphin trainers got distracted and ran over to help him. He grazed his leg and they came to treat it with disinfectant and plasters. While his dad distracted them, Leon jumped into the water with a knife and cut the rope wall and set the two dolphins free. He then went over to Finn, who was in a glass aquarium, and he smashed it with a hammer. The glass broke, and all of a sudden, all the sharks, along with Finn, swam freely into the ocean. They swam up to Ollie, whom they swam off together with. He would take Finn back to Cuba and Bubbles and Sparkles back to Florida, to Key West in Florida. On the way home, they came across Grace and Razor, and Sparkles smiled. You cannot hurt us now. We have Ollie with us. Grace and Razor replied, We have not come to hurt you, but to apologise. We have been bullies because we was bullied by our stepdad Scar when we were young, and we all started being aggressive sharks. In return, we turned on all the sea creatures, and all the sea creatures became scared of us. Eventually, we turned into bullies. But we have had an encounter with a mermaid who showed us a better way to behave. We are very sorry. Please forgive us. Bubbles snapped. Don't be too... Sparkles smiled. Yes, of course we forgive you. Bubbles snapped. Don't be too hasty to forgive them, little sister. Ollie replied. To forgive is the best way to live. So we must. Bubbles and Finn turned to them saying, Okay, we forgive you. Sparkles turned to Bubbles with tears in her eyes, crying, If we have met Grace and Razor, that means that we have reached the Cuba Island, and now Finn is home, and we have to say goodbye to him. Bubbles, with tears in her eyes, said, I know, sister. It's hard to say goodbye. He is one of the best friends that we've ever had, but he needs to be with his family. Finn cried, I will miss you too dearly. There has been no friends like you both in my entire life. Sparkles cried, I love you, Finn. As Bubbles and Sparkles watched Finn swim home together with Grace and Razor, Finn cried back, I love you both too. Finn's family were happy to have him home. Ollie then swam Bubbles and Sparkles back all the way to Key West, Florida. Both of their families were overjoyed to see them. They told them the story of getting caught in the sea current, of making friends with sharks and landing up in Jamaica and entertaining humans. They also explained that they did not intend to worry them or be gone for so long. Bubbles explained to his parents why he had done such a thing, because he wanted to impress the young sea creatures, to make them think he was cool for venturing out into the unknown. But some young seals could overhear the conversation, and they reassured him that they already looked up to him and thought he was cool just by being a cool dolphin and being able to jump out the water so high, but most of all by being the cool and friendly dolphin that he was. What they did not notice is that Leon and his dad had been sailing in the boat behind the dolphin and shark friends. He got seen by the policeman again, who stopped his boat. Leon pleaded, Please let these dolphins and sharks be free, because they have families just like we humans do. The policeman smiled. Now I can see that these dolphins and sharks belong where they belong. As long as they are doing no harm, they are free to swim in the sea wherever they want. In fact, from now on, I am making it illegal for any policeman to take any sea creature to a place of human entertainment ever again. And I want to apologise for taking them to the cove before. I sure was wrong. With that, Leon's dad just smiled. In the days ahead, the dolphins let the children swim happily with them side by side. because they came to realise that not all humans were bad, and all the sea creatures had their families by their side, and often Bubbles and Sparkles would go with Ollie to visit their shark friends Finn, Grace and Razor, somewhere between Key West, Florida and the Cuba Island. But their families were not worried because they too would join them, and the dolphins, sharks and humans swam happily as friends together, side by side. And my thoughts here is that Grace, Razor and the policeman all changed their ways and regretted their past behaviour. And when that happens, we must give people a second chance. Another thought is Bubbles wanted to impress his sea creature friends by doing something naughty and dangerous, but he did not have to do anything, as his sea creature friends loved him for just by being who he was. That is all we need to do, just be who we are, and people will love us for that, and Jesus certainly will do. And the Bible verse I got with that is 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here. And I hope you all enjoyed that story and were blessed by that. Good night and God bless you.